I'd like to call tonight's meeting in the Lower Macungie Township Board of Commissioners to order. If we could all please stand for a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, for the roll call this evening, Commissioners Robert and Shoemaker are absent. Our Township Engineer, Mr. McAdam, is joining us through Zoom. All others are present. Oh, and Assistant Township Manager Flexer is also off this evening. Everyone else is accounted and present for. There are no agenda modifications this evening. There are no announcements or presentations. There are no hearings and approvals. Public comment on non-agenda topics. Is there any public comment on non-agenda topics? Sir, just come up to the podium, sign your name, and then state your name and address when you speak.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
My name is George Kane, K-A-N-E. I live at 2996 Macungie Road, right next to the bridge over the Little Lehigh. I've been here before, and I've been here with a couple of neighbors, one of whom tonight had another obligation. He's not here. His name is John Ulickney. He lives 2 houses up from me on the south side of the bridge. And he and a new neighbor, Vaughn Betancourt, who I thought would be here this evening, are more dramatically affected by issues with the tributary to the Little Lehigh that flows behind their properties. I'm on the other side of the road. As you're probably aware, or as I hope you're aware, there was a study authorized by the township with by the engineers to study the conditions with that unnamed tributary. The report was issued in March. It was sent to us as parties of interest in late March. And on April 3rd, I wrote back to Nathan Jones with my comments. On one hand, we're very pleased that you keep us in the process and you inform us. On the other hand, we are sorely disappointed that the decision made based on the engineer's report is to do nothing about the culvert at Crick Lane, which the engineers have proven is undersized. We said that. They've proven it with their study and determined that it doesn't even have the capacity to handle a 5-year event. Well, as you know, we've been having a lot of wet weather, and December, January, and more recently here in late March, we've had heavy string of heavy rain events. There's been a lot of flooding of the Little Lehigh, of the tributary, which act a lot more independently than the engineers would indicate. We're there, we're witnesses. John Ulickney has lived there 12 to 14 years. My wife and I have lived here only about 6 years, but we get a bird's eye view of everything. And we are affected by the worst of the flooding. For the engineers to determine that the existing retention basin for a plan south down Macungie Road has been modified by the resident that lives there, and that the outlet structure's been removed, they determined that that should be replaced because it's not retaining as much water as it should. And if it did, it would be contributing less water so quickly to the water course, the unnamed tributary. At the same time, they find that although the culvert at Crick Lane is clearly a restriction, they say to do nothing because there's a tidewater effect coming from the creek when it floods. Those rarely coincide. That's our experience. When there's a heavy rain event locally, the creek will rise. It rises slowly. There's a large watershed upstream, and it takes time for that effect to be felt in our township. The tributary reacts very quickly. And with all the development that's occurred in that area over the years, Now, I'm in a 200-year-old farmhouse next to the bridge, but there are 4 subdivisions that contribute stormwater to that tributary. And there's a proposal for a 5th, the Cove at Millbrook, which I understand from speaking with Kevin Frederick of the Conservation District this morning, have submitted or resubmitted their application to the Conservation District in February. So I guess that review process is beginning. But we are unhappy to the extent that we thought we should reach out to the Conservation District and probably the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission to see, why are these decisions what they are? Why is it not important to deal with a noted restriction with the Crick Lane culvert and just allow the additional flooding of those private properties to continue? Doesn't make any sense. I'm an engineer. I worked in the construction field my entire career, and I've commented here before. As I say, I appreciate the receptive attitude of the township, but this decision to do nothing about it really strikes me as wrong. And I'm concerned that the Cove at Millbrook, another 22 acres of open farmland at this point, is going to be developed as streets, sidewalks, driveways, houses, patios, and has no, by design at this point, has no plan for a retention pond. That's just going to add more water more quickly to a problem that already exists.
And I'm going to stop you there. Generally, you only get 3 minutes to make a statement, but because it's a light agenda and I know you're concerned, I want to give you more time. But what I will tell you is we've read everything that you just repeated to us. So we also get copies of all of that. I guess the one question I would ask you is, our professional engineer rendered an opinion. You disagree with the opinion. What would you like us to do?
I think something needs to be done specifically with the Crick Lane culvert, which is grossly undersized.
Now, I'm going to stop you there. Do you think by replacing that culvert, it will fix the problem?
It will alleviate that problem to a good degree. There will still be flooding.
Well, I mean, most of those properties are in the floodway. They're not even in a floodplain.
We understand it, but there's a man-made structure that belongs to the township that exasperates that.
Okay.
And the lack of a retention pond, if the Cove at Millbrook is approved, is going to exasperate that problem.
And I'm going to take a step back there. We're not going to assume facts not in evidence here. We don't have a plan for that development. That will be part of the development process in terms of approval. We'll have to go through any stormwater management that would be necessary there. So I don't want to assume just because they're what is being reviewed by the Conservation District or even the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, which really, to be honest with you, has no bearing over what happens here. The Conservation District does, but not the Planning Commission. I don't want to just assume that because we don't know what the final project is going to look like. So again, I would assume that there's going to be some significant stormwater management associated with any development there. It's just hard to say right now what that will be.
Well, I don't want to disagree with you here personally, but with Nathan Jones at prior dates, he has shown me what has been submitted.
Correct.
For preliminary, for the Cove at Millbrook.
But it hasn't come here yet. I know what goes to, listen, I know what goes to Nate. I know what goes to the Planning Commission. Nothing is finalized till it comes here. And I'll give you an example, okay? Across the street here, there was a proposal for an apartment complex that they had stormwater basins. They went through all the process and the board said no, because we don't feel it was adequate to the health, safety, and welfare of the township. That could be the case here. We don't know that yet. So I appreciate you coming and we want to meet your needs, but I also don't want to put the cart before the horse yet. We need to actually see what is proposed before any decisions are made. People submit plans all the time that by the time they get to us are 1,000 times different. So what I will tell you is, as a board, we're concerned about what's happening to you and your neighbors. We want to keep addressing that. I believe Mr. Beidel we were going to put this on a future agenda of a workshop, correct?
It's actually coming Monday.
Okay.
We will be having that part of the
Okay,
discussion.
so Monday night's workshop, which is when we do, the bulk of our work in terms of discussion, talking with the engineer, talking with the solicitor, talking with the planner, will be this Monday, and your issue is on the agenda to have further discussions with the engineer, to talk more deeply about what they've recommended to this point or not recommended, and see if there's wiggle room. Is there reason to believe that if that culvert is replaced, it will make a significant impact or any impact? There's also some questions about other retention basins along that area that have been raised by commissioners. There's a retention basin not far from your house that anytime I drive by it, I've never seen any water in it. I want to know why that is. Why is the retention basin there if it's dry all the time? And I drove past where you live the day of the storm because I know where it's going to flood. And that day, that retention basin had no water in it. How is that possible?
It's not, well, I don't know to tell
Right,
you.
and we don't either. And these are the questions that we raise on our own. A lot of it, stems from concerns and complaints from residents. Our goal is to find the best solution and outcome moving forward, knowing that we can't fix everything, but that what we can fix, we want to try to fix.
Right. Well, I honestly, I appreciate that. If residents are permitted to attend your workshop
Absolutely.
meeting.
It's a public meeting just like this. It's actually even better because you get more time and you can be part of the discussion.
I appreciate that, and I think we'll be there. But there are two issues. One is the culvert because of what it represents without anything else going on. And the other is what potentially exists with another subdivision. Paul Ulickney's nephew is John Ulickney, who lives on McCungy Road. He's lived there the longest, and he's witnessed a lot more. But his land has eroded a great deal over the recent years, not over the early years.
Sure.
And that's because more is being contributed more quickly to that little water course that doesn't even have a name.
Understood.
Right.
Completely.
Well, thank you for hearing me out. We'll see you Monday.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your feedback. Is there any other public comment on non-agenda topics? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then we'll move forward with communication. Mr. Beidle.
Thank you. We have one item this evening. It's a duplicate from before, additionally from Mr. Hance about the concern for stormwater and traffic for the proposed development at 6300 Lower McCungy Road.
Okay. There are no appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions this evening. Item 10, approval of minutes from previous meetings.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve 10.1, the minutes from April 4th, 2024. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 11, approval of transfers, bill list, and payroll. Mr. Beidle.
Thank you. We have the following for your consideration. The general fund, $145,322.67. The solid waste fund, $253,806.48. The sewer fund, $4,547.30. Capital project fund, $2,008.74. The open space fund, $3,967. The open space maintenance fund, $750.50. The payroll, $156,723.57. Developer escrow, $57,019.30. For a total of all funds, $624,145.56.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the bill list?
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And as always, as a reminder to the community, our full bill list is available on our website for your review. Item 12, departmental matters. Engineer, Mr. McAdam.
Thank you, Mr. President. All I have for you tonight is the recommendation to award the bid for the 2024 microsurfacing project. As has apparently kind of seems to be customary, we only got one bidder. And it was Asphalt Maintenance Solutions LLC, who is the contractor that pretty much does these type of projects for you guys every year. There's one bid, and it's approximately 148,257 square yards of microsurfacing with crack seal that will also be applied prior to the microsurfacing going down. The bid was in the amount of $535,993.24. And I had put together an exhibit for Renee, forgetting that she was on vacation. Got it to her a little late, but just in case the board is interested, the neighborhoods that the microsurfacing is proposed for, Brookside Villa, Graymore, Spring Ridge Crossing, Winding Brook, Farmington Hills, Shepherd Hills, and Watermill.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Is there a motion to approve the awarding of the bid for the 2024 micro surface project?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, anything further, Mr. McAdam?
Not really. Just a note that I understand Mr. Kane's concerns regarding the flooding that he was discussing, and I will certainly be prepared to discuss it at length on Monday night.
Thank you. Any of the commissioners have anything further for the engineer? Okay. Moving forward, 12.2 planning, Mr. Jones.
Nothing for the board this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the planner?
Sir.
Okay. Moving forward, item 12.3, solicitor Bruman.
Chairman, I too, Mr. President, I too don't have anything this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for the solicitor?
No.
12.4, township manager, Mr. Vital.
Just a couple brief items. The first for your consideration, consideration for pickleball courts for tournament style in the rear of the campus for updates. As discussed at the workshop at length.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2024-25, approval of contract for pickleball courts at the municipal campus. Are there any commissioner comments or questions? Any public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Vital.
Thank you. Then just a reminder to the community and the board as well. Community Day is May 7th, just around the corner, 4 to 8 p.m. at the main community center complex. Also, I'd like to note and a reminder of the workshop on Monday, 6 o'clock. We have a fairly substantial agenda. We may be here for an extended period. So we look forward to that discussion. And then just the reminder, the solicitor and I continue to work on the refuse solid waste bid for service. As we've talked about at every meeting, want to make sure we mention it so the residents are aware of the potential for significant rate increases and potential service reductions with the delivery of that service. So the garbage contract does expire at the end of August. So our renewal will be September 1st. We anticipate, potential increased bills for that last quarter of the year. So just want to always mention it at a public meeting as we have for the last about 8 months. So that's all I have unless there's questions for me.
Yeah, I'll just add to please tell your friends because constantly we hear people, they don't know about it. And we literally are telling it at every single meeting. And I think we can get away from their potential increases. They're going to be significant increases just based on what's happening throughout the valleys. Thank you, Mr. Vital. Any questions for the manager? Okay. Moving on, item 13. Is there any old business this evening? Is there any new business this evening? Under Board of Commissioner reports, the next board workshop, as we've stated already, is this Monday, April 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. The next regularly scheduled board meeting is May 2nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. Do we need
We do to talk about land
Okay,
acquisition.
so we will be having an executive session this evening to discuss potential land acquisition. And with that, our meeting is adjourned.
Good night, everyone. See you Monday.
Bye, Brian.
Bruce.